Bounty hunters. We don't need that scum.
I'll take on any job for the right price.
You are free to use any methods necessary, but I want them alive. No disintegrations.
As you wish.
Captain Crossroad.
He's all yours, bounty hunter.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
Welcome in to the Carbonite Chronicles, presented by the Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century. This podcast is dedicated to the Disney Plus mega release, The Mandalorian. My name is Matt.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Mike.
Episode 3 dropped, guys.
The Sin.
I don't like the name of the episode, but other than that,
Well,
You know,
I think before we get going, and we have a lot to talk about, we should probably let them know spoilers are ahead.
oh yeah, hit it. Spoiler alert.
The pace is certainly picked up in the show.
Oh yeah. Who was it today I was talking to? Maybe Mike. They called it Mando Wick.
yeah, that was me. That's mine. Trademark.
That's
And that
I like
actually,
it.
somebody at work called it that too, completely
fitting.
independent of you. So,
Well, it's not hard to pinpoint.
no, it's this was an action-packed episode for
Well,
sure.
plus
I'm not saying that in the first 2 episodes I was waiting for this kind of moment from him, but I was kind of waiting for this kind of moment. This is to see his full capability was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think the question's answered. Kind of, are we? What kind of character we're dealing with here?
Yes,
but,
definitely.
You know, as we
Absolutely.
get into it.
Yeah.
So, tail of the tape. So, what happened in this episode?
Well, before we begin, I have to say, after finishing this episode twice now, I really feel that I'm living in this universe. I mean, the detail that they're giving in this show is through the roof. It's insane.
Yeah, you know, when I was watching it this morning, I got up at 5 a.m. to watch it.
So did
before
I.
went to work. Yeah, and I was thinking, you know, even 10 years ago, if you'd have told me there was going to be a Star Wars show like this, I couldn't have believed it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm getting like a new mini Star Wars movie every week for the next few weeks at least. And it's a great thing.
It really is. It's unbelievable, actually. But to the episode.
All right, so the episode begins where it ended with the Mandalorian emerging from hyperspace. And I'm still trying to figure out what this planet is called. It's where the Mandalorian enclave is. But he's going to see Apollo Creed. Or for our purposes, Grief. Apollo Grief. And he's, of course, delivering the asset to its
Werner
owner.
Herzog.
Yeah.
So
client.
in the cockpit still of his ship, we see the baby Yoda hop out of its floating bassinet and unscrew, unbeknownst to the Mandalorian, one of the levers knobs on top, and he puts it in his mouth.
Yeah. And he's
And that plays in a little later, but I was just wondering if the baby Yoda did it with the intention of it being noticed later.
I think he was just being a baby.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know
Maybe.
how much sophisticated thought you can attribute to this creature. Just
If I do this, he'll think I'm cute.
Yeah, but it's funny because he just kind of picks him up by the scruff of his neck and drops him back into the bassinet.
Yeah. But the Mandalorian lands and delivers.
He does. and just as cold as ice.
He asks.
At first, you can tell he's just like, okay, I'm just going to do this. He puts his head down, and he's just going to go get this done.
One of the stormtroopers is kind of rough with the baby, and he tells the stormtrooper to chill out. I can't remember exactly what he says.
Take it easy.
Yeah, he kind of like, hey.
I said, you take it easy.
Hey there, flu trooper.
Yeah, and then
don't get your
the flu trooper.
Oh, and by the way, in this
your-
episode, we get some amazing close-up shots of how wrecked these troopers are.
Yes.
They are just sickly.
You know
as
what I
Jared
meant to look
mentioned.
up? I meant to see if the voices of those stormtroopers are the same guy or guys who did them in Rebels, because they sound very similar.
I know
to me.
one of them is David Collins. He's been stormtroopers in the sequel trilogy, Rogue One, and Solo. And he has he's a Lucasfilm employee, but LucasArts he's did a lot of video game voices for them back in the day.
Well, I like that consistency if it is the same guy, because it sounds very similar.
Yeah.
I like how they're story building, the canon lore of what these bounty hunters do and what their code is. So I thought it was kind of cool to kind of get that little insight on what bounty hunters day to day their code is, because he's getting called out by his client.
Well, he is, because he does, after he gets the ice cream machine.
Which was so
Come on,
awesome.
come on! You had to
that's
see
legit.
it. You had to know.
As soon as he plopped that thing down, I was like, "Oh my gosh, you got to be kidding! That is amazing."
He pulls out Wilro Hood's ice cream machine from Bespin.
Yeah, it totally is. You're right.
Which
That guy-
to me looks like it's maybe just like a briefcase in this universe.
Well, it makes sense now. We know now that he's not just
Wilro Hood wasn't trying
I
to
love
save
that.
his
ice cream maker
business.
He was actually had something valuable in this thing.
Yeah. So he opens it up, and
He had to
of course,
close up the ice cream stand and take off. I'm out of here. Sorry.
That's fine. But the ice cream machine was, of course, a brilliant touch. That's to me, it feels like that's only something you would see come from Favreau and Filoni.
Yeah, like fans.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Like, they put that in there knowing that people like us would get a kick out of that.
And the thing is, if you don't know what it is, it doesn't matter.
No, because it's totally, it fits with what they're doing.
Why don't you let the listeners in on what you're talking about?
Okay, well,
In a quick little one-sentence
Sure.
nutshell.
for the people listening who don't know, back in the olden times, people would make homemade ice cream in these ice cream makers that looked like the container that you saw in The Mandalorian. And a prop from The Empire Strikes Back, which was quite obviously one of these ice cream machines, was seen in the background during the Cloud City evacuation. A gentleman in an orange jumpsuit was running along with an ice cream maker under his arm, and he's since become infamous. I mean, there's an action figure of him. I have that action figure.
I do
actually.
too.
It's so when they pulled that out on The Mandalorian, it's just like, oh man, that's completely awesome.
You get the sense when they were shooting the scene, they were looking for props, and somebody went, "Well, just give him an ice cream maker. That looks spacey."
And it off craft services is just take it and go.
And it worked too, because it was kind of cool the way it operated. The sides folded down, and
They gave it functionability.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Mandalorian gets his payment of Beskar steel, whole bunch
Which
of
actually, I was surprised that what's his face, Apollo, got some of that too. I was surprised that he got some.
Exactly.
He brokered the deal, so he got his cut.
He got a cut.
But the Mandalorian made the cardinal mistake. He asked a question about the bounty.
And Werner Herzog was none too pleased about that.
He wasn't having it.
He's like, wow, that's really a breach of protocol there, buddy.
Once the deal is done, it is not discussed as if it didn't happen.
Yes.
Well, we got a lot of insight into the Mandalorian underground in this episode. So, he takes the Beskar steel back to the underground enclave of Mandalorians, and he kind of gets an audience this time. He puts the steel down, and he has a group of Mandalorians kind of creep in behind him, and they kind of call him out on the plate about working with the former Empire, and being kind of almost a turncoat in what he is.
And we do get some information from the giant Mandalorian voiced by Jon Favreau that the Empire has wiped out most of the Mandalorians, and that's why they have to live like rats.
We got a very BSG, Battlestar Galactica kind of "So Say We All" theme going in this one too.
So they say this is the way instead of "So Say We All."
Yeah,
but I'm surprised
we got some
that,
great shots of the vibroblades in this one.
Yes, we did.
It was actually very cool
because they pulled them on each other. Large Mando, who somebody, I think our friend Charlie was calling him War Machine Mando.
Yeah,
because he was kind of jacked up like War Machine.
He's actually played by the lead human thug at the beginning of the first chapter.
The guy who was speaking Huttese.
Yeah, he had a goatee and he was bald.
Yeah, he was about 7 feet tall, it looked like. Yeah, but he's a big, imposing figure, and he's
getting a lot of pushback and a lot of resistance and a lot of grief from his Mandos. But that said, he still gets his new armor made. She wants to give him the signet of the Mudhorn.
Yes,
because he beat the Mudhorn and it just wrecked him. But she said, "You've earned this." But he says,
"I was helped by an enemy."
Helped by an enemy,
referring to a Jedi, I'm guessing. A Force user.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat, interesting perspective on how he looked at that. Helped by an enemy.
It was not an honorable kill.
Right.
So
he refused the signet of the Mudhorn. But she gave him some pretty cool things.
Oh, yeah. He got those wrist rockets.
The whistling birds.
Whistling birds.
Yeah, you can give me wrist rockets any day over a nice little mudhorn on my armor. Hey, no, I'll just take the wrist rockets, please.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. So he gets some great looking brand new armor. He gets some pretty cool weapons.
When he walked in that bar, I have to say I kind of snickered a little bit because it just reminded me of in a movie when somebody, usually a comedy where somebody walks into a dance or a prom and he's got his best suit on or something like that. I don't know why I thought of that, but that's what I thought of when he walked in with his new armor, and everyone's kind of looking at him. Well, he's like the ugly duckling who's blossomed into a beautiful swan. I don't know.
Well, because he's, everybody else in there is pretty ratty looking.
Don't draw attention to yourself or nothing.
Had some pretty cool shots of the aliens this time.
Yeah, we got a Twi'lek woman and a Rodian.
A Zabrak?
Yeah, we got a Zabrak a little later on.
Yeah, he was in there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I saw that.
But we learned there was a little precursor in there where he asked the question, how many of the bounty hunters had the fobs to track the bounty.
Before we talk about that, we got to talk about this little flashback to the Clone Wars.
Or the Twilight spa.
The Twilight healing baths.
All right. Well, before he left the Mandalorian Enclave, he was having his standard flashbacks. His armor is being created. Which, obviously, there's some major, PTSD that he needs to step away from that anvil because that's a hell of a trigger for him.
We did see a very good shot.
I'm going to stand over here this time.
Hey,
while you make
I'm going to
my
go in the
armor.
other room while you do this so I don't have an episode.
God, just move away.
But we got a cool look at some super battle droids.
Yeah.
Which I told Jared, I said, those things remind me of Terminators. Those things were scary looking.
Yeah, they were great. They were very cool.
But they were, they were.
It was the best looking super battle droid we've ever seen.
Yeah.
But it looked exactly the same. It was weird. It wasn't any different. It was just more imposing.
He also wasn't going.
Better.
He also wasn't going.
Hey, look what I found over here in this closet. Come over here, you buck on a bolts.
So he was a little more intimidating. And
but it was cool because once his parents put him into the shelter, and even before the doors slammed shut, there's a massive explosion outside, and then BattleBot opens the door and puts his
I thought it was gonna be Saw
blaster towards him.
Gerrera.
Yeah, it's gonna be Saw. Come, my child.
Man, if we get a Saw Gerrera, I don't know how this is possible. Maybe the ghost of Saw.
Oh yeah, it's a little late for Saw
Maybe,
now.
maybe just his mechanical arm. Just
Maybe he
creeping around
survived
still.
the explosion of Jeddah, and he's just like almost all robot, but he's all crazy and got that half afro.
That's all he is.
And
It's
he just walk
Is
around
this
going,
what you want?
lies, deceptions, every day more lies.
The New Republic flag above your head. Saw Gerrera. But anyways, so he's having some major, flashbacks, and we
So
see
that
some great
happens.
battle droid scenes, which again probably solidifies why he doesn't care for droids, which makes sense.
Correct. So he
back to
gets
the bar.
He gets in the bar. He's talking to Apollo Grief.
Doesn't he say ask about the?
He goes, What are they gonna do with it? And he's like, No.
He gets mad.
Yeah, you don't.
That was a little later in the conversation. At first, he wanted a new job. He doesn't want to celebrate.
He's
He just
going
wants to
after
get out.
Mon Calamari.
He wants to hide his misery in his work.
Yeah. So he gives him a Mon Calamari bounty.
Ooh, son of a nobleman.
Yeah.
Skipped his bail.
I like the way he said that too. It was like, whoop-de-doo. It's almost like he's trying to tantalize him with something that he knows is really lame. It's
Yeah.
like, he skipped school.
He goes, "Oh, that's the best one of the bunch." But he did tell him that everyone there had a fob on the asset.
And he was none too proud to announce it.
Yeah.
Well, he was also very vocal about.
Which, we had actually speculated about a few episodes ago that
He was also very vocal about how he was his friend. Remember how he's like, "Hey, my buddy!
Yeah.
It's my buddy, everyone! Look, my buddy! It's my buddy!"
I knew you could do it.
I love his character.
I
though.
wanted
think
him
he's
to,
great.
when he came in, and go, "Come on, stallion. The warrior might as well be dead."
Oh, God, he's got some great lines
Man,
in those Rocky movies.
I'm just gonna keep. Apollo is always gonna permeate.
He's
his
afraid. The man's
character.
afraid.
Anyway, so Grief flashes his couple of bars of Beskar. Look what I got.
He tries to convince him to
head-
don't go back to work right away. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, let's go to the Twi'lek healing baths. Which you can only imagine what that is like.
Maybe they got some mind evaporator actresses there.
Perhaps. Or,
feel like creation.
or they'd risk their TV PG rating, so be careful. The Mando is... I don't think he's really feeling too good
No,
after
and
his
there's no respect
conversation.
among peers here. They obviously, as Grief said, aren't happy that he got the big bounty, and they're not too pleased with him being around. It's almost like he was the one who scored the touchdown in the game, but didn't hand the ball off to anybody, and everyone's kind of upset with him.
True.
So they're not they're not his friends, his peers here.
Well, he goes back to his ship,
He's about to leave. He's just about to leave.
and then he sees the knob shifter that the Baby Yoda planted there on purpose.
Yeah, and there's a lot of detail work in just the on turning on the ship and all the switches and dials.
It's
like,
completely awesome.
it's not like they overdo it or spend too much time on it, but they give you a lot of fun tactile details in this that you're like, man, this is just awesome stuff.
No, it's pure Star Wars. It's people flipping switches, and you hear those engines rev up, and you're like, yeah.
It's not like an Attack the Clones when Padme's in the ship and she has that one button that activates everything.
No, man, you got to flip switches and click dials in this ship. So he sees that knob laying there, and he's like,
Nope.
Crap.
I tell you, this led to a moment that actually got to me a little bit.
It led to a moment?
Yeah, when he walks back to the client's house or whatever, apartment. Does he knock on the door first and the
He does.
stormtroopers tell him to go away?
He does.
But then
no,
when he
he
walks
knocks
in-
on the door, and the
droid,
Jabba droid answers, and he rips its head off.
which is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
that
noise it makes is
scream
great.
that it made. That was
like-
amazing. It was like, "Ah!" He just grabs it. But then when he walks around the back and sees that orb in the dumpster, I was like, that was sad. I was like,
Yeah.
wait.
I mean, it's a big moment in the show because up to now, we don't really know anything about him.
I know what you're going to talk about here.
Yeah, and this is the first time he makes a decision and like picks a side.
Right.
And you see that he has honorable intentions really for the first time in the show.
It's a very Han Solo kind of arc this guy's on.
Well, he becomes an anti-hero. I mean, he's an anti-hero.
Yeah. So he blows a hole into the facility as a...
Oh yeah, he listens. Now when he listens in, that gun he has does everything.
Yeah.
You know, it atomizes people, it shocks people, and it's a infrared. I can hear you. It's got the super mic on it. But
We get a great tease in this, by the way.
did you hear what the client and Dr. Pershing were talking about?
Yes.
He says, "You've got your sample. Now, this place is not safe for you anymore. You've got your sample. We need to wrap this up."
And they go in to say who the sample is supposed to be delivered to, but he gets some interference. of
Exactly, and
course,
you can't hear.
right when they say it.
So,
Of course.
So Dr. Pershing has pulled a sample for cloning purposes. We can only speculate. And so then he just blows a hole in the side of the place. And the client's gone, isn't he?
I don't.
We
think he comes
we don't
back.
run into him again, but
we
we do run into a bunch of stormtroopers whom he has no problem shooting in the back.
Oh, yeah. And setting on fire.
Oh, that was the best kill in the whole show.
Because that stormtrooper is like,
He's roasting on the ground, but like
he's
he
screaming.
unleashes so much fire on the stormtrooper. When he falls to the ground, you still hear him sizzling inside of
Yes.
his suit.
Yeah,
It's just
smoke is
amazing.
rising up from under the helmet.
We see all capabilities of what his suit is doing, what he has.
Yes.
And he's doing most of this one-handed because he's holding the baby after a while.
Well, he
but,
finds the
he
baby,
gets to
and
the-
it's interesting because the doctor is like, tells him he's like, the baby's alive because of me. I saved his life.
Yes, and
So the Mandalorian lets him live.
yeah, well, he knocks him to the floor, and then, Pershing is there, like, in the fetal position, and when he looks up, the baby and Mando are gone.
So now he has to fight his way out while, as Matt said, carrying
A baby.
a Yoda baby.
Yes.
And we get to see all different kinds of capabilities. We get to see the whistling birds, which he just acquired.
Oh, which was completely awesome.
Well, that was a great setup because you had, first of all, when she says whistling birds, you have no idea. I mean, you think it's like a badge or something.
Yeah,
When
I
she
thought it was
says that.
too. I thought
and
it was
then,
too.
So then when he's surrounded, you're like, okay, how's he going to get out of this thing? And he puts the baby down, he crouches down, and you see those little things like peer out of their holder, and you're like, oh, you get an idea of what's about to happen.
Which,
And then,
gee, Jon Favreau, where have we seen this before?
Exactly. This is a total Guardians of the Galaxy move here.
No, it's not.
Iron Man.
No, it
Iron
was like the
Man.
whistling. No, this is a whistling arrow for me from Guardians.
Dude,
I was
this was
thinking of
this
the-
was straight up Iron Man 1 where he has all those mini missiles and he
Yeah.
just
I thought I got the whistling. I got the whistling arrow out of this, but that's just me.
okay. Well,
That is just you.
I think it is because I'm thinking Favreau. He's assigning some Iron Man
You
properties.
say he's a one-trick pony, this guy? Come
No,
on.
I'm not. But I'm saying that's straight up Iron Man. But I
So-
loved it. It was great.
So he goes through a whole slew of stormtroopers, and then we cut away to the bar back where Grief is, and all of a sudden, everyone in the bar,
Everyone's
has a-
fob.
This
everyone's
was
fob starts
This was
blinking.
the John Wick moment where everybody's fobs start going off, and now you know that everyone's about to go after him.
Right. So he winds up on the street.
That doesn't go
walking
well
with the
for
baby.
them.
Yeah. Well, the Mandalorian is obviously surrounded as he gets near a ship. Grief kind of calls him out, tells him to put the baby down, and then chaos ensues, where the Mando takes out a lot of them
He
himself.
does, and he gets on that sled powered by the R2 unit.
Yeah, and he yells
and,
at it.
And
to
let me
make
tell
it-
you, that is 100% pure Star Wars. when he points the gun at the droid and says, "You better drive." I mean, that would only work in a Star Wars movie, and it works here. Because the droid's like, "No, I'm not going." He points a gun at him. He's like, "Burp, burp, burp, burp," and then starts driving. That is like
You get to see a lot more disintegrations from his rifle.
Oh, yes. Yeah, he gets... I mean, once he's pinned down, he pulls out the atomizer and just starts...
I like that you saw his flamethrower run out of fuel. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it always feels like those guns are endless in Star Wars.
Correct.
So it's nice to feel that there's, like, limitations.
So I wasn't surprised how it ended because I thought it was going to go one of two ways. I thought they were going to get another Baby Yoda moment where Baby Yoda reaches out with the Force, or Plan B, which is what happened.
I didn't see that happen. I didn't think that was going to... That surprised me.
Didn't surprise me at all. I was
when the
waiting for it.
Mandalorians show up, that was a surprise to me.
That didn't surprise
Well,
me.
it was
But I was
still,
glad to see
it
it.
was still awesome.
It was great.
All those jetpacks coming down. You're like, yeah.
Fat Mando had, what was it, like a Gatling gun or
Yeah,
something?
yeah.
Was he doing Jesse Ventura? Did he pull out old Painless?
He was mowing down folks for sure.
Yeah, that thing was amazing.
But
so we got to see all the Mandalorians in their jetpack glory that we kind of have grown to love with the Clone Wars.
Yes.
And Rebels.
Only now
and,
in live action.
Which was awesome.
Yes.
And so all the Mandalorians came out, which we learned earlier that as it has been going since the Galactic Purge, only one Mandalorian would go above ground per se at a time, and this was a to hide their numbers kind of thing. So this is the first time in a long time, at least for this enclave, to come out all at once and show their numbers, and they kicked ass.
And he's like, you guys can't stay here now. You're gonna have to relocate. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. But so they're gonna have to leave this planet that they're on.
Yeah. We get one final showdown with Grief, who snuck onto the Razor Claw.
Razor Crest.
Is it Razor Crest? I'm
Yes.
sorry. Snuck onto the Razor Crest and kind of got the jump on the Mandalorian.
And he got shot in the heart for his troubles.
Yes. Luckily, he had some Beskar steel to block
Yes,
that blast.
fortunately, he did. And the only reason I knew that he wasn't going down is because I've seen the trailers with him, next to characters we haven't been introduced to yet.
Well,
So-
See, I don't
There's no
remember. I
There's
don't
no way
remember
he was
those.
going down.
I've only seen those trailers like once or twice, so I don't really remember. So when he got shot, I'm like, is he dead? Because I didn't know if the shots we'd seen I'd already seen in the trailers. So I wasn't sure. But then, of course, and it's sort of like a cliche, but it worked.
Oh, yeah.
It works.
It's like the cigarette case
or the Bible.
The Bible, exactly. It's a Western. It's a Western.
Or the stovetop
the plate of steel from...
from the Clint Eastwood and Marty McFly.
Exactly. But the Mandalorian takes off with Baby Yoda. I don't know where he's going.
But he does give him the.
He
gives him the
play with the shifter
little
knob. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a nice
They're
moment.
buddies. They're buddies now.
So
I love the episode. It was great.
There's no.
I will
Such a fun
predict.
episode.
I will predict that, and I know this is probably not like any sort of great revelation, but at this point, I wasn't sure if the Baby Yoda would carry through to 8 episodes, but I think at this point it's pretty obvious he will.
Yeah.
But I think at some point, the series will end with him and the Baby Yoda like going their separate ways in some
Well,
way.
I don't think we've seen Herzog. I think we're going to see Herzog again. Obviously, I think he's going to be tracking him down in the sample. I think that's what his mission
we
is
still
gonna be.
haven't met Giancarlo Esposito.
Right.
And
Right.
his Death Troopers and the TIE Fighter and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Or Gina Carano or what she's doing.
Well, she's the girl isn't she the one doing the forging stuff?
No.
No.
that's
She's another bounty hunter, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, I
she's-
thought that was her.
No, she doesn't wear a mask. I
thought she was a Mandalorian
and
too.
we're approaching the halfway point of the series and we haven't seen any of these people yet.
Right. So on a different note, this was a very Baby Yoda heavy episode, and I like Baby Yoda. And it's kind of interesting to see. If you look out on the interwebs, there's a lot of polarization on Baby Yoda right now.
Is there? I've only seen positive stuff. It seems
No,
like
there's
most-
a big backlash on Baby Yoda too.
Oh,
But
those
I'm
people
in the Baby Yoda camp. I like Baby Yoda, but my buddy actually, who has been watching the show, despises Baby Yoda.
Okay.
Why?
And-
Well,
I'll tell you why.
You can't be his
Hold on,
friend
hold on.
anymore. You can't be
Listen,
his friend.
I'll tell you why. Hold on. So this guy, he's a lifelong friend of mine.
Does he listen to us? Or is he about to be insulted?
No, and I'm not going to insult him. He has some interesting points, but he's a huge collector of Star Wars. He's been a big Star Wars fan. He's got every toy in the world. He's a big fan, but he's our age. He's an adult fan that isn't transitioning well with Star Wars. And I told him, he was upset with Baby Yoda, saying they just put it in there for merchandising, just to sell it. And I said, listen, Star Wars has always been about merchandise.
Yes.
From the start, Star Wars has been a merchandise machine. That's what it is.
Every character on this show is an action figure.
Exactly. So, and I told him, I said, listen, you can't be upset that they're making stuff for merchandise. And I said, listen, Star Wars is for kids. It really is. And the thing is, we watched it as kids, and we got on that train, that Star Wars train, but we never got off the train. There had been people along the way getting off and letting new kids take turns, but we just kind of keep sitting in the back.
Yeah.
And we never get off. We just go for another ride.
Filth 40 years later.
So we can't be upset when we see a train full of kids on the same train that we've been sitting on and not getting off. So
Well,
I
see,
said, you just kind of accept the ride and don't be upset that it's for kids. Kind of enjoy what you see, and don't be upset if you see something like a Baby Yoda and it's out there for merchandising. So
I think
it's fine.
I think Baby Yoda, and this is probably going to sound sexist, I think Baby Yoda is for the wives, to be honest with you. Because my wife saw the first episode, and she was kind of ho-hum.
Hey,
She's not a Star Wars fan. But when she got to Baby Yoda, she's like, oh.
Let me tell you, if Baby Yoda is bringing in more women to Star Wars and making kids like this show, then I'm all for it. I love it. I want more people to love Star Wars, and I have to tell you, this show is top-notch, and everybody should be watching The Mandalorian. And my friend, I'm going to have more conversations with him and bring him onto our side, because he has to embrace
listen,
the merchandising.
With Baby Yoda, I think Baby Yoda, as a quote-unquote cute, kid-friendly character, has been handled better than Jar Jar Binks or the Ewoks. Or the Ewoks.
Absolutely.
George had that tendency to really want to, at some point, play down to the kids. And Baby Yoda doesn't play down to the kids. Baby Yoda is just a cute creature, but he's not... you could argue that eating the frog was definitely a very George Lucasian moment.
I liked it. I don't care.
I did too.
There's other things that eat frogs in the series too.
And it makes
Jabba
sense.
frogs.
You know what Yoda ate now.
Yeah, but I think Favreau has handled this creature better than George Lucas could have.
All right. Well, listen, we have how many episodes now? 3 episodes with a total of...
We've got 8 coming. I mean, we got 5.
But we have currently we have about 90 to 100 minutes of episode time that has been released.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done the math and I haven't counted the minutes, but I would venture to say in these 3 episodes, Baby Yoda has gotten as much screen time as probably Jar Jar Binks had collectively, or Ewoks collectively in the movie. So, to your point, Jared, I think for the screen time they've allotted that character, I think they've done a great job. And I don't think that I feel insulted as a Star Wars watcher and fan. I don't feel that I'm being played down to, or it's just for the kids. I buy into that character 100%. So
also, there's a mystery. Like with Jar Jar, you knew what you had like right away.
Oh no, he was mysterious.
And Ewoks, although the Ewoks have never bothered me, I think people are overthinking Ewoks, but Ewoks were the same thing. There wasn't like a really big mystery about them. But this Baby Yoda is like, you're like, what? Like, okay, so where did it come from? Mm-hmm. It's a he, right? They finally gave it a gender.
Yes. The Pershing called it a he, very specifically.
You don't know where he came from. You don't know where he's gonna go. You don't. So, and we were having a conversation. Me and Jared were having a conversation with our friend Charlie, and I brought up. I was trying to think of like I was looking at it from the perspective of the Star Wars mythology. And so I'm thinking, and I don't know if this is going to be addressed in the show, maybe like an idea that's too big or whatever, but the Force is always balancing itself out. So what is Baby Yoda balancing out? because this Baby Yoda is obviously very powerful.
Yeah, we might.
And we already have Luke, who's very powerful.
Yeah.
Could be Snoke in the background.
So what is this Baby Yoda balancing out?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, don't forget the Emperor is still around.
yes, he
At
is.
least in some regard.
That we know.
Well, we don't know for sure. We have to wait
Well,
till
yeah,
December
that's true.
20th to find out for sure.
I'm just saying that's a good point. You talk about Luke. This show makes me forget that Luke, Han, and Leia are out there.
Yeah.
As
And they're still in their prime.
as their young selves.
Luke hasn't tried to kill his nephew for no reason yet.
So one thing before I forget and before we end the show, when the Mandalorian was in his enclave underground in the little clique, it was interesting the dynamics on how they were talking about what had happened to the Mandalorians with the Empire and the Purge, etc., and how they're kind of even are standoffish with their own, like they were with the Mandalorian because of his working with the former elements of the Empire. Mm-hmm. So it made me think. I mean, obviously, when we were watching the original trilogy, I'm assuming that the Purge had already happened at this point. By the time A New Hope had hit, it might not have, but I'm kind of thinking it has.
Well, I'm trying to think like within the timeline of what we're familiar with.
Yeah,
So I'm rewatching Rebels right now, and so at this point, the Empire is ruling via a proxy leader over Mandalore, and there's a rebellion growing in Mandalore.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if before A New Hope or between Return of the Jedi and Rebels, if the Mandalorians finally strike against the Empire, and then that's when this purge occurs.
So this isn't really something that we need to discuss right now, but just food for thought for later. So Boba Fett obviously was not a true Mandalorian.
Yes.
But he adopted the armor, and he was a very famous bounty hunter. So I wonder if in the underground Mandalorian cliques, Boba Fett's name was a dirty word. Like if he was a public enemy #1 kind of poser that they wanted to take out. Because we have to think at some point in this show, whether it be season 2 or beyond, that Boba Fett has to have his name pop up at some point.
Yes.
Don't you think?
I would agree.
So, I don't know. We don't have to discuss it. I'm just putting it out there as like, knowing how they're very much against their own working with these elements of the former Empire. Mm-hmm. You have to wonder how they were with someone wearing Mandalorian armor.
Yeah.
Or if you look at what Django did, he basically sold his DNA to create an army for the Republic.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just food for thought. Obviously, we must hear something about Boba Fett in this show, and it's just
I think we will.
Something to think about.
Also, this episode was directed by Deborah Chow, who is helming Obi-Wan. And look, if she can do with Obi-Wan what she did with this episode, I'm on board with that.
Yeah, no kidding, man. She knocked it out of the park.
Guys, we're living in a great time for Star Wars. I don't, the haters aside out there, there's some great Star Wars out there to be had.
Well, real quick, I'd like to add something. It sounds like you're wrapping up on this. Jared and I have both started playing the new Star Wars game.
Yeah.
And it's good. So far, it's good.
Yeah, play it.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of videos on it. I don't have the system to play it, but I've been watching a lot online, and it's awesome. It looks great.
Yeah, great story, graphics, music, everything.
Yeah.
Solid. So, I'm enjoying. I got Fallen Order, I got Mandalorian, got Rise of Skywalker in a few weeks.
Obi-Wan on the horizon.
Heck yeah, man. Let's
good
go.
Good times.
Let's go.
So stay tuned. We're going to be dropping these episodes as the Mandalorian drops itself. So
as it drops itself.
It's got the dropsy.
Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed it, let us know. We love feedback. And go watch Star Wars. Go watch The Mandalorian, you guys. If you haven't started, go watch it. And if you're watching it, good for you.
If you're a Star Wars fan and you haven't watched it yet, you should be very ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, or as Mike likes to say, you're stupid. Yeah. Thanks for listening.
We have spoken.
I have spoken.
You know you can't live without this content. So subscribe to The Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century. Follow us on social media, leave us a review, and join us next time as we take you into the 25th century.